Monday is here, baby. I'm Sean Steyers. He's Vince D'Addario. I'm pushing it OTT because you and I were just that was the fun stuff, kind of off the camera, off the mic, as it usually is as we get started on this Monday, playing our grumpy old man bit as we complain about things that we can't control.
Yep.
But it's here. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today. A lot of comments from Marcus Freeman. We've got some injury updates. We've got some Steve Angeli talk as expected. That will be one of the comments that you'll hear from Marcus Freeman. What else? Oh, yeah. Our buddy Nardo. We're going to talk about Nardo one more.
Oh, God.
At least one more time.
Yeah.
Light this sucker up on Monday. Are you ready, Vince?
Man, just light this candle. Let's get this thing rolling.
Oh, let's do it. All right. Well, it's senior day, Friday. How the hell did that happen? Like, here we are.
I know.
10 games down, 2 to go in the regular season. You turn around and it's senior day. Literally, I was driving to the press conference today and I went, because now that my travel is starting and I'm an old man and, it's like I forget what day it is sometimes and definitely what the date is. And I look at my watch. It's the 17th. How did that happen, Vince? How did it become November 17th already?
Well, and, this past weekend was my son's last game of the regular season. And
I was going to ask you about that because we don't have, enough opportunities to sit next to each other at games, in part because of that, obviously.
I know. Well, I'll be there this weekend. Coming up. Are you going to be there?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, well, I'll be there.
I'm really looking forward to seeing you again 2 games in a row, though. No.
Hurts. But to your point, with it being his last game of the regular season, they had their football banquet on Sunday.
Man.
So, that means
game and banquet, and that's it, huh?
Boom, done. Now, they did get a bowl bid today, but I don't
Stay out of Hillsdale.
Yeah. But
they got a bowl appearance? A bowl appearance?
They did. Yeah, they did. I don't know that it's public knowledge. But yeah, they got invited to a bowl game. So
we're breaking Hillsdale news here on Sports Radio.
Apparently, inadvertently, because I forgot that wasn't public knowledge yet.
Just let it slip, huh?
It was an accident. I keep forgetting I'm not just talking to
Loose
you.
Lips, Vince.
I know.
Loose lips, sink ships. One of the first lessons I told my then girlfriend, now wife, 32 years later. Loose lips.
You're not wrong. It's very deceiving when I'm sitting in my basement talking into my laptop. I think I'm just talking to you. But no, I'm actually talking to the radio people.
The whole world. Everyone.
Many people on IB Nation. So.
Maybe even coaches on that staff who know you do a radio show.
That would be awful. That would not be good.
Especially now the season is, for the most part, over.
That's true.
Got a little bit of extra time.
Yeah, that is very true. But to your point, though, this season has flown by. This season has absolutely flown by. And where did it go? Where did this season go? That's the question.
I know. That is the question. I don't have the answer for it.
Right. But it just means we're old and time goes by that much faster.
Very true. We do have the answer to Notre Dame Pittsburgh Saturday. A 37 rather to 15 thrashing of 22nd ranked Pittsburgh. Before we hear from Marcus Freeman, Vince, your top takeaway from that game was blank.
My top takeaway was that Notre Dame's a really good football team and that Coach Narduzzi is super annoying.
Those are 2 takeaways, but I'll accept them as
thank you.
Flash.
It was like one train of knowledge or train of thought there. Notre Dame's a good football team, and they did not have their A game offensively, and they still absolutely put it to Pitt. And it was very entertaining to watch. You know what I mean? And that says something about a team. About this team that They're playing a ranked team. College game day is there. It's a big deal. All these national talking heads are saying that Notre Dame's going to struggle to run the football, all of these things. And they just go out there and basically do whatever they want. And the only reason that Pitt put points on the board were self-inflicted wounds by Notre Dame. Like, that was just a butt whooping.
I will give Pat McAfee, some credit, because even sitting next to Aaron Donald, and even after ripping his shirt off, and then Aaron Donald rips his shirt off when they're making the picks on this Notre Dame Pittsburgh game, with Aaron Donald sitting right there on the field at Acrisure Stadium, I thought McAfee was going to go Pitt for sure. But
I know, me too.
He took Notre Dame. Unlike that guy sitting down at the end of the road, Desmond Howard. He's
an idiot,
man. Like, pretty tough. And and I get it. If that's really your heart, that's really your conviction, and you really think Pittsburgh has a chance to beat Notre Dame, okay. But it's like with Desmond, is it really more about he wanted Pitt to beat Notre Dame because he wants Michigan to have a chance to move up and all that kind of stuff? Feels like that a lot with some picks, spite picks and whatever else. But look, this was a ranked opponent, and Notre Dame beat them down and outclassed them from the word go, and really from even before the word go, before they ever stepped foot on the field. I think they were beaten before they ever stepped foot on the field. We were kind of texting about that today. Jesse was at the game, and he was at the stands, and tomorrow you get to hear some of his annoyances with with Pitt fans and their annoyances with him. But that's like, Notre Dame lives deeply, and I mean deeply, in Nardo's head. And get them out. And I think that his team played like a team that was defeated before it ever stepped foot on the field. They were just outclassed athletically, physically, and in every way, shape, and form. They were outclassed, and I think it starts with a head coach and it works its way down.
Well,
we'll get to Nardo here in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, he opened his mouth.
I gotta jump the gun on that up.
Well, he opened his mouth early on in the week, and he was trying to walk it back literally the rest of the week, because he knew that probably wasn't the most intelligent thing to say.
He had no choice. If you're going to stand up at a microphone before you play the best team on your schedule, and you're going to say stupid things like that, it's going to come back on you. Sorry, 100%. Pat Narduzzi.
Absolutely. He was trying to walk it back, even like he went on game day an hour and 45 minutes before his game kicked off, by the way, because I checked the time. An hour and 45 minutes before his game kicked off. He's on the game day set trying to walk back these comments that he made. Like, dude, you say stupid things, you win stupid prizes. Like, that's how that works.
It's Saturday. It's game day. Yeah. Like, okay, you can try all you want, but your team heard it and everybody else heard it.
Exactly. So, that's correct.
They were just, I expected more of a fight from Pittsburgh, and it's,
I mean, they had
it started another narrative, but I just feel like they were completely outclassed. It has nothing to do with how hard they were trying. They were just outclassed and outplayed in every way.
And they did some things, offensively that made sense, but it didn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, they did a good job of getting that running back out in space and, getting in the football and doing some different things. Like, it made sense what they were trying to do. Notre Dame's defense was that much better. Like, they couldn't get anything accomplished because of what Notre Dame's defense did to them. Top to bottom, Notre Dame outclassed.
Chris Ash and Notre Dame's defense looked like they had Pitt's playbook, and they were just, did they have Connor Stallions on the sideline over there with them? That's what it looked like. They anticipated virtually everything that was going to happen, with very few exceptions from start to finish.
You brought up Chris Ash. I'd like to say something here real quick about Chris Ash.
I hear this.
Yeah. So I've been seeing going around on social media that everybody owes Chris Ash an apology. And somebody even like typed up like an apology letter that they want everybody to like sign, like this whole thing, right? No one owes Chris Ash an apology.
Here we go. Vince is gonna dig in. He's gonna keep his
hold on.
He's gonna keep his spitefulness against Chris Ash. Okay.
No, hold on a second.
Okay.
Two things can be true at the same time.
Okay.
Because he was very poor early on in the season.
He was.
It's very poor. He's been really, really, really good the last few weeks of the season.
Right.
Like, those two things can both be true. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't know an apology for calling him out early on in the season. Nobody does.
No one needs to apologize to him.
No, not at all. But
And
I can also
and he doesn't
appreciate
need
that he's
to
doing well.
apologize, for like the other way around. It was his philosophy. Maybe things weren't communicated what exactly it should look like.
Sure.
But at the same time, the unfortunate situation is if you win either one of those two games at the start of the schedule where they struggled as much, you are all but a lock to be in the playoffs.
100%.
Right, but because you lost both of those games, you are like you're still more in than out right now. But we're going to talk about tomorrow's rankings when they come out in rapid fire in the second hour of the show. There's obviously some reason for concern. And I don't think that Texas, for example, is done with their say yet, because they've got Texas A&M coming up next week. And that's potential bullet point. And even Miami, they're not done if they finish strong, because,
Pitt plays Miami. So, let's see. Well, we'll talk about Narduzzi's comments after the game, but let's see if Pitt can go up and beat Miami. If they can do that, then I don't want to hear Todd talk anymore. Yeah, that's for sure.
Since this Notre Dame game didn't matter, that Pitt Miami game matters a lot.
Yeah. So
the Pitt Panthers better at least be in that game, late in the game, fourth quarter. It better be a one possession game.
Yep.
If that's the game that really matters. And the game after, these last two ACC games, if those are the games that actually matter, your team better be ready to go. Yeah. And they better put up more of a fight than what they did against Notre Dame on Saturday.
100%. 100%. So I just wanted to get that out there. I think he's doing a bang up job right now. Comeback coach of the year at this
Chris
point.
Ash. Okay. I thought we were still on Nardo there for a second.
No, God, no.
Whoa, where did we go? No. How did this get off the rails?
No, God, I would never, ever, ever say that. But Chris Ash is doing a bang-up job right now and has for the last month and a half. He's doing a fantastic job. But that doesn't take away from the fact that he did a very poor job early in the season. Two things are true.
Correct. Correct. He got his stuff together.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all you can ask for.
And that's great.
He saw the woes of his ways, and they're playing lights out football.
Absolutely.
That's what you need in November. And if Notre Dame is able to get its ticket punched into the playoffs, that's all that matters. Once you're in, you've got as good a chance as any of the other 11 teams.
That's right.
That are in there.
All resumes are wiped clean. It's time to just win ball games. That's all that matters.
Right.
So, Yep.
Before we get to the injuries, let's talk about our guy, Pitt coach, Pat Narduzzi.
Yes.
He ran the ball and then called timeout with 5 seconds left to allow the Pitt backup quarterback Eli Holstein to throw a 21-yard touchdown pass at the end of the game. And now Holstein, by the way, not like your typical backup quarterback. It's not like he's some bench scrub who has no playing time to his credit. He was the starter, obviously, at the beginning of the season before he was benched in favor of Mason Heinschel. So Holstein is in at the end of the game, and after the game, Marcus Freeman was asked his thoughts on that decision, the decision to call the timeout with 5 seconds left before the 21-yard touchdown pass, and if Pat Narduzzi had anything to say during their drive-by handshake that was caught on camera at the end of the game.
I wanted to go celebrate, but here's what I tell you. I'll answer this in this way. To each their own, you know what I mean? I don't ever comment on about another program, but also I don't have time to think about that. They called a timeout. All right, guys, let's get them stopped, right? And that's my challenge with our guys. I don't know what exactly happened and how they scored on last play. We got to evaluate it, but they called a timeout. Let's go. We got to win. We got to win this play. So that, as you feel really good about how the defense played the whole, I don't care who's in the game. You don't give up that touchdown at the very end. And so that's how I look at it.
It was interesting. I was at the basketball game, the women's basketball game, and we'll touch on that, man, in rapid fire as well. But I saw the social media, people tweeting the video handshake, and Brian's Balloons LLC says, I love Freeman pulling his hand away, get off me. And that is definitely like Narduzzi wanted to go in for the, hand around the neck, come in for the bro hug, and I'm going to
whisper. This was the whisper that he didn't want any part of. That's my guess.
Freeman was like, I don't need to hear any of this nonsense. I'm moving on. Ain't nobody got time for that. So what did you think about all of this, Vince?
The whole sequence or the way
wherever you want to go.
Okay.
You heard what Freeman's comments were.
Okay.
So yeah.
The calling a timeout with 5 seconds to go. Like, I understand what Marcus Freeman is saying. Like, I get it. You, at the end of the day, you got to stop him. Like, I get it. Okay. But that was still Bush League play. That was a Bush League move to call timeout with 5 seconds to go on the 21-yard line. Like, you ran the ball. That's what you were supposed to do. And then you're supposed to walk across and shake hands. Like, that's it. You ran one extra play that you didn't need to run. You didn't need to call timeout there. That was a waste of everybody's time. It's not like you were going to win the game. You were just trying to put some points on the board. And again, I get where Marcus Freeman's coming from with at least with what he said afterwards. Like, I'm not going to comment on somebody else's program. They can do whatever they need to do. It's our job to stop them. All of those things are true. But there's also, like the how do you want to say it? The unwritten rules, like there are in baseball. Like the kind of the unwritten rules, if you're getting your butt handed to you at the end of the game, just run the ball and let the time go out. Like, let's all move on.
Again, like to each his own, as Marcus Freeman said.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, I've always said, you coach your team, I coach my team. Like whichever, Marcus Freeman coaches his team, Pat Narduzzi coaches his. Now, like Marcus Freeman, when he's had subs in, he's had no problem continuing to throw, give them a chance to run the offense. I guess you can say Pat Narduzzi was doing that, but I just feel like this goes because again, like this guy Holstein was the starter at the start of the season. So this wasn't like even a Kenny Minchie situation where this guy has gotten a handful of meaningful reps. Like he had tons of meaningful reps and they stunk it up at the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. This to me is much more about going back to Pat Narduzzi hates Notre Dame, and Pat Narduzzi despises Notre Dame for the fact that they're not in a conference. He is on record. He has said that multiple times over and over. The references that he made a week ago today at his press conference were a direct shot at that. This game doesn't mean anything. It's not a conference game. Okay, join the choir. We know what Pat Narduzzi is all about. And this went to Pat Narduzzi trying to make that final score look a little bit better than it actually was, and trying to also make Notre Dame's win not look quite as lopsided at the end of the day as well. I think that it was much more about that than anything else. And no, I don't think Marcus Freeman needed to give Narduzzi the time of the day. I mean,
agreed.
Narduzzi and James Franklin should they feel like they're a couple little step brothers trading Christmas cards at the end of the day. Did we just become best friends? Are they, who's on the top bunk? Who's on the bottom bunk in the Narduzzi, James Franklin?
Yeah, they're in the same conference now, so maybe they'll be able to bond at the conference media day next year.
Right,
hang out together. But there was no point in calling a timeout. You can run, like somebody in the chat said, you run your offense, you get better, blah 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 blah. Those are all backups. You're not getting any better by running that last play. All you're doing is potentially getting somebody hurt. That's my opinion. There's no reason to call a timeout there. You want to run your offense, that's fine.
He had two timeouts as well. Like, where were the timeouts the rest of that
exactly
drive? He was really and again, he ran the ball the play before that, and it looked like, we're gonna run the ball, and then we're just gonna end this thing. And that's what Joe Tessitore was essentially saying during the broadcast. He thought that they just ran the ball. This game is probably, nope, he called timeout, and there's 5 seconds left, and there's one more play.
To each his own.
Whatever, to each his own.
Yep, to each his own.
And
it can still be Bush.
I've got no problem with it because Marcus Freeman has shown that he's willing to do that kind of stuff with his backups in the game. And so I've got no problem from that aspect. I just feel like the problem I have is it's Pat Narduzzi, and it runs much deeper than just calling a timeout to let your backups run an extra play and see if they can score. Much deeper.
Yeah.
Than that.
Yep. So, that was a total spite timeout. That's what that was.
Right. Narduzzi is who Narduzzi is. I mean, his head was freaking spinning over there on the sideline the whole game. Every time.
He didn't know what he was doing with himself over there.
Yeah.
But again, Notre Dame's got to stop them. They were 21 yards away from the end zone. Don't let them score.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The backups are in there. Your backup defensive players are in there. They're out there for a reason as well because they're getting those reps. They do have to stop them, and they should have stopped them. Stymie Snurdley's in the YouTube chat says, does Ash get credit for the last 5 seconds on the game or just 59-55?
All of it.
Look,
Not all of it, but those
It's
are
credit for all of
backups.
it. They still won. I've got no, again, like the most important thing is the W, and then
Right.
after that, it's the points. Aesthetically, I think everyone who watched that game knows the beatdown that Notre
And
Dame put on Pittsburgh.
that's the thing. If anybody watched the game, looking at the score is one thing, but supposedly these committees watch these games. That's what I'm told. And so if they watch that game, they watch Notre Dame beat the snot out of Pittsburgh from start to finish in that game. So it's whatever, If that makes him feel better, if that helps him sleep at night after he got his butt whooped, then so be it.
It's not a conference game. He's got conference games.
It doesn't matter.
No.
Doesn't matter. He wasn't playing his best players from what I heard.
Let's take a break. When we come back, Marcus Freeman talked about the injuries to Jaden Greathouse and Gabriel Rubio today. He also talked about Steve Angeli possibly coming back to Notre Dame Stadium this weekend. We will hear his thoughts on those things and more when we return on a Hoppin' Monday, Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com continues, along with Vince D'Addario, Sean Stiers on this beautiful Monday. We got to talk to Marcus Freeman at his press conference today. We've been talking a lot of Notre Dame Pittsburgh so far in this show. Salty Virginia Peanuts in the YouTube chat says, can you imagine how embarrassed the Pitt players on the field were when Narduzzi called the timeout, not to mention Aaron Donald, Tony Dorsett, etc. They must have been apologizing under their breath. I will say, like, they did a pregame interview with my guy, Tony Dorsett, like one of the did you see any of that?
I did.
It's hard to watch, man.
It was really hard to watch. There were times where it was a great interview, and then there were times where it's like, I don't know if Tony knows where he is.
I know.
That's what it felt like.
And
I don't
honestly,
know.
I'm not being like glib about
Right.
this. My first thought was, has he been tailgating and maybe, like Joe Namath a few years? But
Sure.
I just think that unfortunately Tony, he took a lot of hits back in those days.
Yeah.
Football was a lot.
Oh,
different,
a lot different.
One way or the, but yeah, he was like, because there was something where like whoever was interviewing him, she said something. He was like, "Oh yeah, I was going to say that," something like that.
Yeah, because she was talking about like how many yards he had against Notre Dame and like the whole thing, and he's like, I wasn't really going to say that, or I was going to say that. Yeah, it felt a little off, and she quickly transitioned to Jerome Bettis.
Yes, which was the good move at that point. Even though I think she asked Jerome Bettis about playing against Notre Dame, but maybe her mind just kind of took a little glitch for a minute because she knew she had to get off Tony Dorsett.
Yeah.
TD was obviously awesome. One of the greatest players in NFL.
Oh my
history.
gosh.
One of my favorites from, my childhood, from those Cowboys glory days, not from the Pitt glory days, but from the Cowboys glory days. But yeah, that was rough. That was rough. So Notre Dame receiver Jaden Greathouse missed the game Saturday against Pittsburgh. It's the 6th straight game that he has missed with the hamstring injury. And on the injury report that Notre Dame released today, he is the only player listed as questionable. They have a handful listed as out. He's the only questionable player for this week's game. So I asked Marcus Freeman if there's been any discussion about just setting him down these last couple games, let him get healthy, and then hopefully have him ready to go for whatever is to come in December. And here's what Freeman said.
Like we had a discussion recently, and just that it's very similar to what I just said about James Flanagan, and it's taken him longer than we thought to get healthy, but he's probably he's close to being healthy right now as he's been. But is it right for him to? Is it right for us to make him play these last 2 games and cost him a year if we can get away with saving him a whole year by not playing him these last 2 games? And so right now that's our mindset, is if we don't have to play him this week, let's try not to. He'll be ready, but we're going to try to hold off on playing him in hopes of being able to redshirt him for this year and get him, if we play beyond Stanford, then he'll be ready to go.
There is Marcus Freeman
on
Jaden Greathouse. I mean, it just doesn't feel like there's any reason to play him
none
weeks, does it?
0. And if you can get another year of eligibility, whether that's at Notre Dame or elsewhere, all for the kid. You know what I mean? Like, that makes sense. And Notre Dame does not need Jaden Greathouse to beat Syracuse. They don't need him to beat Stanford. Like, they could put the number 1 jersey on you and they'd be just as good and win just as many games over the next 2. You know what I mean? So like, there's no reason that he should play. And that's about as forthcoming as you're going to get when it comes to what their plan is for a player and like injury status and redshirt status and all that. He's like, we don't have to play him. We're not going to. We're going to save his year.
Yeah.
And then if we play past Stanford, he's good to go. It's about as direct as you're going to get. I love that answer.
Joe says, shouldn't it be up to Greathouse? I mean,
that's why they met about it. It was up
like
to
they talked about it. This isn't
Yeah.
just the coaching staff / the support staff making this decision for Jaden Greathouse. There's been, obviously, the longer this thing goes on, it's probably become more of a conversation. And why would Jaden Greathouse want, like Freeman, the cut that we played last week, the answer he had last week, he talked about they drew blood out of the hamstring to try to help it heal. And so that, like, this goes beyond just your run of the mill hamstring tweak or pull or whatever. It's obviously a very severe injury to have to go to those lengths. So it just feels like you've missed this much time as it is. You've only played 4 games, which is the minimum. So why even mess with these next 2 games? Why would Jaden Greathouse want to play in these next 2 games when he can, do as little as possible, rehab as much as possible, and then, again, your eye is toward December, whatever that brings. And maybe if Greathouse is able to be completely healthy, he becomes a little bit of an X factor, secret weapon.
Oh my gosh,
for Notre Dame at that point.
That makes them that much better in December when he comes back. I mean, there's still a month to go before that game would even happen. You know what I mean? And so plenty of time to get him healthy, get him ready to go and ready to roll.
So I followed that up with another injured player, Gabe Rubio. The last time Rubio played was October 11th against NC State. So he's been out with an elbow injury that's basically been around 5 weeks since that last game. I asked Freeman if there's hope for him to return maybe next month as well.
If we, I mean, you got me talking about things that are uncertain right now, but if we are able to be in postseason play, we expect Gabe Rubio to be back for that.
Got him talking about things that are uncertain. And to be very specific, I worded these questions. I never said the word playoff. Like, all these guys, do you look toward the playoff? I said December intentionally because of kind of what Marcus Freeman was alluding to there. Because one way or another, no matter what happens with Notre Dame, like, they're 8-2 right now.
Right.
At a minimum, they're going to play in a bowl game. At a minimum, obviously nobody wants them to play in a bowl game, from the team to the fans and everybody else. But at a minimum, there's going to be a game December, January, whenever it happens to be, at a minimum. And that's why I worded it like these next 2 games, and then your eye is toward December when whatever happens. Just to kind of clarify.
Mm-hmm.
Him not wanting to talk about uncertain futures and games that may or may not happen. The question was never phrased around a playoff appearance. But your thoughts on Gabe Rubio?
Yeah, I mean, I want him to be 100% when he's in there, and apparently this elbow is just kind of lingering. You know what I mean? And so I would rather have it's a very similar discussion as it is with Jaden Greathouse, right? I mean, I want him to be 100% healthy for December. I'll steal your line of questioning there. I want him to be 100% healthy for December. That's when it matters. Because, again, you don't need Rubio or Greathouse to win these next 2 games. You just don't. That's just reality. So let's not take a chance.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
And I saw Joe say something about HIPAA in the YouTube chat. And I think, as you said in the response in the chat, it's only against HIPAA when the player doesn't want the coach talking about it. Like, I think every coach, every team addresses that differently. Notre Dame
have those questions.
Notre Dame is putting out an injury report every week, and they're listing what the injury is to these players. So, like, if the player said, no, HIPAA, I don't want my injury disclosed, I don't want anybody talking about it, then they wouldn't put them on there. But they have to essentially agree to it before Marcus Freeman can go out and talk about any of these things. Yeah. So, I mean, there's no HIPAA violation there. So
none.
I think there was a 1 or 2 other things. Christopher in the YouTube chat asking if anyone asked about Charles Jagasaw. No, those 2 questions there, Greathouse and Rubio, were the only questions about injured players. I think it's been maybe 3-4 weeks I asked about Jagasaw, and basically it was like, hope to have him back at some point, but it's not known.
I mean,
now
they're listing him as out.
He's still out
every week at this point. And so as long as he's listed as out on Monday mornings, when you guys go in there, or early Monday afternoon, and you look at the thing and it says out, there's no point in even asking the question, because he's out. I mean, he's going to be out for the foreseeable future. And I would not get my hopes up, by the way, of him coming back.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it, from everything that we've kind of heard, rumblings, and like, it just doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound good. So don't.
Yeah. And again, like, nobody asked about Billy Schrauth. Obviously, again, there D-Rock is saying keep Schrauth out until December. Hope he'll be ready. My feeling is that would probably make sense as well. That, like, you play these next 2 games with what you have. If there's any doubt about the health of any of these guys, you play through these next 2 games. You've been winning you've won 8 consecutive football games with varying degrees of, who's available and who's not, and that kind of thing. And it just seems to make sense that you err on the side of caution, and you play for December once bowl practice, whatever kind of bowl practice, playoff practice, whatever it is, begins. And then you look at, okay, how healthy are these guys? To what extent can they contribute? Can they, win jobs and those kind of things. So.
Right. And Joe wants to know, how many years does Jagasaw have left? He used his regular red shirt. Now, obviously, there are medical red shirts, and it just really depends on how many medical red shirts you're going to be allowed to use. I mean, we've all heard the tales of guys using multiple medical red shirts. He could technically medical red shirt from the 24 season and the 25 season, I suppose, which would make him a freshman status again. But
I just saw something over the weekend about a Miami, Ohio quarterback who was in his 7th year,
right.
who just left the team.
So, I mean,
and yeah,
again, it just depends on how many medical red shirts they're going to allow you and how that all
Mm-hmm.
works.
And it also depends on, can he play a full season once he comes back, and how does he look in that season? Because like if he comes back next year and he looks like a first-round NFL draft pick, probably doesn't matter how many seasons of eligibility he's got left. He's probably, if he plays like an first-round pick next year, he's just going to go to the NFL because he's dealt with multiple injuries in his time at Notre Dame, and he's going to go get first-round money and make a lot of money and get paid, I get it. There's NIL. They get paid. It's a lot more when you're a first-round NFL draft pick than even NIL money in college. So, to me, that's a big factor as well. Can he actually get through a whole season uninjured, and how does he look playing in that season?
Because, I mean, here's the crazy part. He's in his junior year of college right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's a junior.
And he's played a handful of games.
He has played like 5 games. This is the worst injury bug to a player that I can remember, like a top flight player that was inserted into the lineup as a freshman. He just can't stay healthy.
I know.
And so,
unfortunately,
we'll see what they do from an eligibility standpoint, but the bottom line is he's never played more than 4 games ever, and he's a junior.
Right.
So.
Exactly. I was looking at a couple of the comments. By the way, I probably don't mention this enough. Obviously, if you watch on either of the YouTube channels, you know about the YouTube channels. But for people who listen to the podcast, it's a great way to listen to the show as well, obviously. For people who listen to the radio, that's an excellent way to listen to the show. I did it, like the times that I've been driving over to Purcell Pavilion, getting ready to call a Notre Dame women's basketball game. I'm like, I can just turn on the radio. My guys are on the air. So I listened to Vince and Jesse doing the show and doing a great job of doing it. But for people who are listening on the audio platforms and you want to throw in a question from time to time, we're live doing this show from 5 to 7, and it streams on the YouTube platforms on Irish Breakdown and Sports Radio WSBT, either one of those YouTube platforms. And of course, you can jump in the show and create your little handle and ask your questions as you go and make your, funny comments and whatever it happens to be. You can have a lot of fun and join in on the conversation. So you can do that as well. Subscribe while you're there at the Sports Radio WSBT YouTube platform. We're still trying to build that platform up.
Yeah.
We're getting closer. We're inching closer to our goal of 500 subscribers on the Sports Radio WSBT YouTube site. So jump over there, throw us a subscribe if you don't mind.
Got a good crowd in there today.
Yeah.
Over 250 people in the YouTube channel and all watching this thing go down. So good crowd today. Good lively crowd. I like it.
They came to hear us. They came to hear us take our shots at Nardo, man.
Well, stick around because I'm sure it's not over.
We got more in rapid fire. Trust me.
Yes.
There'll be more in rapid fire. And I just realized we haven't even touched on the whole late kickoff time at Stanford. So just hold off on that, old man. We're going to hit that in rapid fire here in a few minutes as well. After a break, we're going to come back. Steve Angeli might be coming back to town this weekend. Eric Schmidt missed a field goal. He hit his extra points. There was a question about Eric Schmidt and his kicking, particular kicking situation. And so we will hear Marcus Freeman's comments on those two things coming up next on Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. What's up, Vince? You're muted right now.
There we go. What's up?
You've got my disease. Is what's.
Yeah, that was.
I was about to say I need you over here to produce this board for me, but you're not. Your hands aren't working any better than mine.
I was gonna say I don't know. I don't know. You might have to bring Tyler back. He did a
remember those days? Yeah.
Oh, I remember. I was able to do the thing, right. But that was during COVID when you were nestled all snug in your bed at home doing the show, and I had to slug out to the station and push all the buttons.
In no way was that a bad thing, my friend. In no way.
Yeah,
at all.
for you.
Brian says he feels like I have to wake you up every time we come back from break.
Brian, you're not far off. I tend to zone out. I was watching a show actually during the break. Like I completely zone out, trying to forget about my day at my other job, things like that. Speaking of pushing buttons on the board, Sean Stiers, you'll never guess who I ran into last night. And I remember pushing buttons on the board.
How long ago?
This is a man that I met 21 years ago when I met you.
Colin Burns.
Nope. Bob.
Bob.
Yeah.
Henning?
Yeah.
Wow.
I haven't seen Bob Henning. I haven't seen him in a long time. And so we were able to catch up a little bit. It was great to see Bob. It was so great to see Bob. And we were all out to eat at the same joint last night. So
Bob's our engineer. He's rolling in dough. Did he offer to buy you dinner over there?
They were shopping pretty hard in the gift shop of the restaurant that we were at.
Okay.
So they were getting after it, him and his wife. So
gift shop?
Mm-hmm.
Were you at the Cracker Barrel?
We were. Guilty as charged.
My wife loves the Cracker Barrel, and there's one over there in Elkhart, obviously. Yep. So that had to have been where we've never gone to that Cracker Barrel.
Really?
Like anytime we travel and there's a Cracker Barrel, always wants to go to Cracker Barrel.
That's hilarious.
We've never ventured over to.
That is hilarious. Now it's a bit of a hike for you where you guys are located. So
a little closer for you where you guys live.
It is. It's still a hike. It feels like at times, but yeah, we were at the Barrel. New menu. Mother-in-law wasn't happy with the new menu. It's a little different. Didn't know where to find her special meals. Things like that.
Yeah,
but still good.
By the way, Notre Dame Syracuse, it's senior day this Saturday, 3:30 kickoff here on Sports Radio WSBT and the Notre Dame Radio Network. They'll be live with the game day show from 11 a.m. to 2:30 Eastern time from the linebacker, maybe for the last time this season, at least the last time in the regular season. Tim, Eric, and Tyler will be there, and they'll have great guests with them as well. We'll find out as the week goes on exactly who those guests are. So that's from 11 a.m. until 2:30 over at the linebacker. Salty wants to know, isn't this better discussed during one of the breaks? You know how hard Brian would ride you if you did this in his chat. Well, we're not in his chat. We're on my show. So our show.
Right. And with the way the technology works, we actually cannot chat during the breaks. So,
right. I mean, yeah, like anything, like the silence that all the listeners hear during the commercial breaks is the silence that Vince / Jesse hear during the commercial breaks as well.
Yeah, we can't hear the commercials and all the fun stuff,
Yeah, that's right.
Or the bumpers coming back, which is why I'm always caught, looking like a fool because I never hear the bumper.
Right. Jesse puts the video block up so people don't see whatever he's doing over there in Cleveland. So
yeah, see, I'm not. It's whatever. You want to see me?
I know. So then he just has to bring that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's all good.
Exactly. All right, a couple more thoughts from Marcus Freeman before we get into rapid fire here in a few minutes in the second hour of the show. Eric Schmidt made all of his extra points Saturday, but he missed his only field goal try. Marcus Freeman talked today about if they thought about giving Schmidt another crack at a field goal later in the game, fourth quarter, when they ended up going for it instead. And here's Marcus Freeman on that.
Well, it was under consideration multiple times, even after he missed it, but we had a number. Hey, where's the ball at? What's the first down marker? What's the number that we're either going to go for it, the yardage that we're going to go for it, or we would kick it? And I always communicate that with Coach Denbrock and say, hey, 3 or 4 or 5's a go in this situation. And so we just kept putting the ball in a situation where we were going to go for it, just using the analytics, using my gut. But it wasn't that I wasn't willing to kick him. We just got to, as you look at that kick, there's answers why it happened, but how are we going to have a routine to fix it? Right? I know I don't love to look at just results, but I don't know how to kick a field goal. Right? I don't know the exact technique. Coach Biaggi does and Eric does, and let's just make sure we're consistently using that technique so that ball goes through the uprights. And so I haven't lost confidence in him, but we got to keep getting better, and we got to be better in practice. I'm going to evaluate the results in practice, right, and be as we get ready to go into the game.
haven't lost confidence in Eric Schmidt. And you heard the long explanation there. What do you think of all that?
You know, I would have believed him if they hadn't gone for it on 4th down from the 25-yard line. And that was like the last series of the game, but there was still like 6 minutes left, and they went for it and they only got 4 out of the 5 yards that they needed. And so they ended up turning it over on downs. I felt like that was a prime time to kick it. It wasn't a crucial part of the football game by any stretch. They had won the game. The game was over. Let the kid kick the field goal. And then when they decided to go for it in that moment, I was like, might not have the most confidence in the world. I get it, going for it. You want to maybe hold on to the ball maybe a little bit longer, drain some clock. Like, you could explain it away. You know what I mean? But, like, that said something to me at that moment.
Yeah, and I mean, they go for it most of the time anyway at this point. That's just kind of his thing, and it's a lot of coaches' things. I mean, like there's a line, like these younger coaches, like the non-old school guys are going to go for it more than they're going to kick it. If, like the down and distance is what they consider, doable, and where they are in the field and all those kind of things. And it's really just become kind of the go-to thing, not just for Marcus Freeman, but again, across college football. And the other side of this, and it's like, it's not that Marcus Freeman would ever say this out loud, but if he misses another field goal, then that's just that much more in his head. And so I would just rather stick with what you usually do rather than kick a meaningless field goal in that situation when you're already obviously going to win. Like just keep doing what you usually do. That's the route that I would go with.
I get it.
But they obviously, like, it's still a concern for everybody as to whether or not Schmidt can make a field goal when they need 3 points, a la Jeter in the Orange Bowl last year. Odds are at some point a big kick is going to come up and they're going to need him, and he's going to have to make that kick.
His extra points have looked great. I will give him that. They're
Which
end
is a
over
good
end.
starting point.
Yeah, they're right down the middle. They're
Yeah.
all of those things. And so he just needs to get into his head to have all of his kicks look like that. If he kicks the ball like that from wherever on the field, it's gonna go in. You know what I mean? It's gonna go in. And so he just needs to repeat. It's like a pitcher. You gotta repeat the motion, repeat the motion, repeat the motion. And if he can do that, he'll be great. But he's gotten a lot of confidence, I'm guessing, over the last couple of weeks kicking extra points because he's kicked a ton of them, and the next 2 games are not going to come down to a kick, but I'm hoping he gets an opportunity that the situation is correct for it to kick a field goal. To your point, Sean, I don't want the staff going out of their way to kick a field goal when they don't need to. You know what I mean?
And look, even the one that he attempted and missed, I didn't really like the play calls that led up to that, like the approach that they had. I felt like because of where they were on the field and because of the uncertainty with the kicking, they should have been playing 3rd down as, like this is a 4-down situation and gone with something that would have gotten them, maybe at least 3 to 4 yards out of it. And then it's a much more manageable 4th down situation, and you don't have to worry about even, kicking the field goal in that situation. And like, it's not the first time that kind of stuff has happened, but it's just, as the head coach and the special teams coordinator, there's always that in the back of your head that you've got these issues. And like when Schmidt missed that first field goal, it was still a game that was in question. So they've got to get it figured out. I guess that's the best I can do. But
absolutely.
I don't disagree with not going for it in that situation. All right, real quick, Steve Angeli may or may not be coming back to Notre Dame this weekend. Of course, Angeli transferred to Syracuse out of the spring. He won the starting job there before a knee injury, ended his season after Syracuse's win at Clemson in September. And Marcus Freeman talked about a potential reunion with Steve Angeli this weekend.
If he makes his trip, I would love to see him. This game's bigger. I know we're evaluated on wins and losses, but, for me, in my position, it's about people, and it's about helping young people ultimately have success, right, on and off the field. And Steve is a guy that gave everything he's gotten to this place when he was here. And I am, like I told him when he decided to leave, that the relationship between a coach and a player doesn't stop once you're gone. I'm always supporting him. I was so happy when I found out he was named starter and watched him do some successful things. And, I reached out to him when he got hurt. And so would love to see him and just hug him, right? Just to, because you care about him. And I hope he's able to make the trip.
I mean, I wouldn't expect any other kind of answer from Marcus Freeman. You might remember early in the season when Jaden Mickey and Boise State were coming back. I think it was at that point when Marcus Freeman said, look, these guys aren't cars. You don't just rent them and then, discard them and you're never going to see them again. There's a connection that you form with these guys. And obviously Angeli was here for the first 3 years that Marcus Freeman was here. And again, wouldn't have expected to hear anything less than that. I do wonder, how reciprocal it is on the other side. If Angeli would be hugs and
if there's any hard feelings for leaving.
If there are any. Yeah, exactly.
Look, Steve Angeli thought he should be the starter at Notre Dame. I wouldn't want.
That's what I'm alluding to.
Yeah, I wouldn't want it to be any other way. If you're competing to be the starting quarterback at Notre Dame, you should feel like you should be the starter. So I'm sure that there are some hard feelings, but he landed in a pretty good spot for him. He was the starting quarterback at Syracuse. He just got hurt. You know what I mean? And so, I'm sure that there's some resentment in there, but I think overall he'd be happy to see Marcus Freeman.
Do you think Syracuse would bring him just because he did play here?
Yeah, I do.
I would hope that they would.
It doesn't cost them anything.
Assuming he wants to come back.
Good point. No, that is a very good point, but I'm pretty sure, now one has nothing to do with the other, but Phil Dracovic made the trip back to Notre Dame when he was playing at Pitt, I do believe.
And there was a lot of spite there.
A ton of spite, but he came on the trip because I remember him being there.
The whole cultural, appropriation. Tripping up
God.
to Boston and all that kind of good
ridiculous.
stuff.
But, if he wants to come, he can come. He'll just get on the team charter and, head out to South Bend. Yeah.
ND Saylor asking if Schmidt makes his kicks in practice. Obviously, we don't get to go to practice, but the question I asked, after the Boston College game, when there were, I think, 8 questions at the next press conference asked about the kicking game, one of the questions I asked Freeman was, are the issues that you're seeing in the game, are you seeing those issues during practice? And what he said was they're making their kicks in practice, basically. We're not seeing that degree of issues. So by those words, he's saying that there aren't these issues in practice. Now, that doesn't mean they never miss, but it's certainly not to the degree, according to Freeman, that what we saw at Boston College. In regards to coming back from breaks, DJ says, at the end of each break, I hear Sean breathe in. That's my cue. My nostrils are right above the microphone.
That's true.
There are 4 buttons, between the radio side and the YouTube side. There are 4 different buttons that I have to push, to make sure that, extra stuff isn't running on air and this is that and everything else. So the first thing I do is unmute myself, and then I hit this button, then I hit this button, and then I hit the last button. So I probably am doing a little Darth Vader into the mic now and then coming back from breaks. All right, that's hour 1. Hour 2 is coming up next. We've got a lot in rapid fire. We'll talk college football playoff. We'll talk disrespect from Pittsburgh, some comments from Jeremiyah Love, some comments from Tae Johnson coming up as well from postgame Pittsburgh and Notre Dame Saturday afternoon in the Steel City. That is all around the corner. Rapid fire, Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com. It is hour 2 of Budweiser's weekday sports beat with AverageBreakdown.com, and Vince slid back into it as Chris Collinsworth slide, getting right back in.
That was timing right there, baby.
That is timing. That is timing. It is rapid fire time. Are you ready for it, sir?
I am so ready for rapid fire. There's some good ones in here today.
All right, good. I'm always excited when you say
Yes.
there are some good ones. I feel like I bore you sometimes. So
Never.
we are ready
Never.
to go. We are ready to go. Fill in the blank. The November 29th game between Notre Dame and Stanford being announced as a 10:30 p.m. Eastern time kickoff in Northern California to end the regular season is blank.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous that Notre Dame is kicking off at 10:30 at night. I'm sorry. I know that other teams have done that, and, I'm sure their fan bases have been upset about it as well. They're in a conference, and you got to do what you do when you're in a conference. And now Stanford's part of the ACC, so, Notre Dame is kind of up creek because they have their ACC agreement, and it just feels like the ACC is just giving it to Notre Dame. That's what it feels like to me. They're doing all the social media about how Miami should be in over Notre Dame.
Yep.
And the whole deal, and they're poking the bear of the team that is like propping you up most of the time,
Holding your conference together, not
Like-
even most of the time. If Notre Dame is not part of this agreement, the ACC, whatever, they feel like they need more money, like they wouldn't even be getting the money that they're getting now to pay out to their schools.
Correct.
Notre Dame wasn't part of the whole deal. So
I don't understand why they would do this. Oh, well, we want to have a night game for our fans. It's apparently what Stanford is saying. How about you sell out a game first, and then you can start giving your fans something? They're gonna get a Andrew Luck bobblehead, so that's gonna be cool, But like 10:30 at night, I mean the post game show is gonna start at 2 a.m.
So we talked about, as you referenced, we talked about these late kickoffs. These happened early in the season in September. Boston College played at Stanford. Michigan State played at USC, and they were 10:30 kickoffs as well. And as we talked about back then, this is not just a Notre Dame thing. I think it's ridiculous that any school that's in the Eastern time zone should have to travel to the West Coast and play a 10:30 p.m. kickoff game because, not only, most importantly, fortunately, this is Thanksgiving weekend and all, but those players are going to have, there's not going to be a game the next week, but those players are going to have to go to class all week. And you think, quality, class time is going to be quality because Boston College got back from their trip to the West Coast after playing a 10:30 p.m. kickoff at 9 in the morning. They got back to Boston at 9 in the morning. Now, obviously, it's closer to South Bend than it is to Boston, but at the same time, that is still a long flight. You're talking about a minimum 4-hour flight, and that's after everything that goes on after the game, press conferences, getting changed, showers, get your food, get on the bus, get back to the airport. It's probably like a good 2 hours between end of game, 2+ hours, end of game by the time you get to the airport. Notre Dame is probably going to get back to campus sometime between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. Sunday morning after playing a 10:30
Without
p.m.
sleep.
kickoff.
I mean, you're going to sleep on the plane, I suppose, but that's not real sleep.
Right.
That's terrible.
Right.
Your whole Sunday is then shot because then you got to sleep all day.
Yeah. And none of that is even taking into account the fact that you've got fans watching in the Eastern time zone a 10:30 p.m. kickoff. So you're going to get that game is going to get done somewhere around 2 a.m. Eastern time. Let me just start with this. Personally, you and I despise even an 8 o'clock or a 7:30 kickoff.
Yes.
So 10:30 takes this to another level. I would rather be locked in a room with Pat Narduzzi for a day than be made to sit through a 10:30 p.m. kickoff time. I don't even know how my brain is going to adapt to that. This is just an insult to the effects of tryptophan on the human psyche, for one thing, because don't forget this is Thanksgiving weekend. 10:30 p.m. on a Saturday
Yeah.
night. It makes me rethink my whole strategy about giving up the idea of walking the earth, meeting people, and getting in adventures like Cane and Kung Fu. Like I don't know what I'm doing with my life right now, Vince. At 10:30, I never thought that this would happen, that Notre Dame would have a 10:30 p.m. Eastern time kickoff. But here we are. And, we've talked plenty of different times about just doing away with this Stanford thing. As of right now, there is no Stanford game in the future. Be done with it.
Yep.
Be gone.
If this isn't a reason right here to drop Stanford on its face, I don't know what is. Like, there's no reason to keep them on the schedule if they want to play you at 7:30 local time. None. Zero reason.
Yeah.
And we're all gonna be forced to be up, watch a kickoff at 10:30 at night. And I realize I'm old and I'm crotchety and young people have no problem staying up at, whatever. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, like ESPN loves this. This is the old Pac-12 after dark time slot.
Yeah, right.
It's 10:30 p.m. time slot. And like if I was finishing up like a 7:30 game at Notre Dame Stadium like we had with Navy a couple of weeks ago, when I come home, I actually don't mind flipping on the TV and, like unwinding a little bit.
That's
after
the
I
key,
get
though.
home.
Unwinding.
But this is completely different. Yeah.
Yes. This is completely different. And there's no reason that Notre Dame should be playing in this slot. I'm sorry. There's just no reason.
Salty Virginia Peanuts in the chat says there's no way that's true, that I would rather spend the day with Narduzzi. He says, because there are limits to how much time someone can spend with Narduzzi in a room. Read the Geneva Convention carefully.
Wow.
I haven't brushed up on my Geneva Convention lately. Maybe Scott L. Esquire, the lawyer, can find me the Pat Narduzzi effect.
It's just the ACC is just turning the screws to Notre Dame. It's like they don't want them anymore. And I guess if I was Notre Dame, I'd be like, well, you're sending a very clear message with your social media posts and with you having Notre Dame as a 10:30 start. You're sending a very clear message that you don't want us a part of your conference anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. There's other conferences that will take Notre Dame's other sports. I guarantee it. I absolutely guarantee it. I would start shopping. I would start shopping around.
I think at this point you have to. Now, obviously, the options are somewhat limited, and there's some animosity in different respects with whichever conference, but I think it's at least worth exploring. I mean, most of the Big 12 schools as an example would be closer than the ACC schools, especially with the fact that you have Stanford and Cal factored in there. So
yep, absolutely.
Jalen G says, what day does Notre Dame travel to California? They've done it differently. I think Freeman has done it. The West Coast trips, they've just done a typical day before the game on Friday. Like Brian Kelly at times, and I know back to Charlie Watt, like they have done the team gets together, eat their big Thanksgiving feast, and then go get on the plane and fly to the West Coast, which when you think about that for a minute, feeding all those football players all that food, and then you're getting on a plane and just think about the logistics of what happens in a 4.5 hour flight. That seems like that could be its own recipe. So I'm sure that'll be something that'll be asked next week of Marcus Freeman. What's the travel?
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah, it'll either be Thursday or Friday. No, but again, we got it to look forward to. Thanksgiving Day, or not Thanksgiving Day, Thanksgiving weekend, Notre Dame Stanford, 10:30 p.m. Eastern.
Saturday into Sunday. Just absolute ridiculousness. Yeah. And
if you're out in the bars, it's awesome. It's
sure.
It's all just a background while everybody's, doing their thing and hey, another Jello shot and whatever.
But here, we have to actually focus on the game and talk about it and make,
and then do a post-game show till 5 a.m.
Make reasonable remarks about first of all, a game that's going to be terrible. It's going to be an awful football game to witness. And we're all going to have to be holding up our eyeballs to witness this just car accident that is about to take place out in Palo Alto.
Correct. Ken Pluto wants to know if this is a Stanford call or the network. I mean, the TV network dictates all these.
It's the network, but I'm sure that
some influence, I'd say more influence from the ACC than Stanford itself.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Stanford has no say when you have the record.
And they can like, hey man, we'd love to have a night game at some point, and then they can be like, oh, how about Notre Dame? That kind of like. I'm sure there's discussion, but yes, at the end of the day, it's the network that makes the final.
But like even, it's officially winter right now. So even a 7:30 Eastern time kickoff, you're going to get some night, it's not going to be night out there, but like during the game, like the sun is going to set probably, at some point during the first half. So
I think if, they're going to do the back and forth, and if Stanford ends up on the schedule for next year, it's a home game for Notre Dame. I think it should be a 9 a.m. kick at Notre Dame, local time. So that's like a 6 a.m. kick for Stanford. I think that's what needs to happen. That's what I'm in favor of.
I'm with you.
Let's go 9. Let's go kegs and eggs, baby. We'll go early. We'll get this thing over with in time for the, the big noon kickoff, basically.
I like it. Pitt looked like they might get a little bit of momentum on their side when they got the pick 6 late in the third quarter Saturday. But here comes Irish safety Adon Shuler, who intercepted the 2-point try and returned it the other way for 2 points in Notre Dame's favor. Scale of 1 to 10, how big was that play, Vince?
I think it was a big momentum shift because Pitt did have the momentum at that point. And they had it for about 37 seconds until Pitt snapped the ball for the 2-point conversion and Notre Dame took it to the house. It was like a 105-yard return. And that was very, like, they took whatever momentum Pitt had, gone, absolutely gone, because it's embarrassing to get a 2-point conversion taken back on you. That was an absolute 10.
It is, especially where he had to start from. Basically one side of the end zone, and the fact that it was a telegraphed throw and just a really poor decision to make that throw to begin with. And then he cuts all the way to the opposite sideline and has to do a little bit of zigging and zagging to do it. It just, it's not like I felt like Pitt was going to mount some amazing comeback by any means, but at the same time, you get a pick 6 and, like all these different things kind of start to happen. And I remember, because I was at the basketball game and I texted Jesse, how did they get like 2 points? Why is the score, where did the 37? I'm like, where did that come from? Did they get a safety? And he was at the game. And so he told me what happened. So I give it a 9, because any momentum that Pitt felt like they had at that point was completely erased with Adon Shuler.
Instantly gone.
Instantly
gone. He just sucked the momentum right out of that stadium. Like any kind of like, yeah, what a great play, gone. Just absolutely gone.
Yes, exactly. So Fighting Irish safety, Tae Johnson, of course, had a pick 6 in that game. He spoke with the media after the game, after the win over Pittsburgh, and he was asked about Adon Shuler. Here's what Tae Johnson said about his teammate, safety mate, Adon Shuler.
Adon, he's a fire starter. So, that kind of what it was for the defense, I think it was on 3rd down if I'm pretty sure, but he's a fire starter. Adon brings the energy to our defense, and that's what we needed in that moment. They got a big play, like I think the first couple plays before that, and for Don to do that, it was a fire starter for our defense. It turned all of our energy up, and that's what we needed. So it was a great play for sure.
3 times he said fire starter in that clip. Tae Johnson talking about Adon Shuler. How do you like that nickname for Shuler, fire starter?
I dig it. It's out of the box, that's for sure. Nothing I would have ever guessed. It it doesn't like rhyme with his name or anything like that. I dig it. I dig it.
I do too. I loved it. And I was like, oh, fire starter. The first time I heard him say that, I was like, oh, fire starter. That's kind of cool. That's something different. And then he said it again. And then he said it again. It's like, man, this guy is truly he obviously, thinks of him as a fire starter. And that's what Shuler did. And, not just that play, but think back to that 3rd down, Pitt's first 3rd down of the game, where Shuler just lights that Pitt wide receiver up, man. He blew him. That might be the biggest hit I've seen by any Notre Dame player this season, was that hit that Shuler laid on him. And I think that definitely set the tone for Notre Dame's defense with how this game is going to be played, the physicality. And it just really felt like, again, we talked about this earlier in the show, that Pitt wanted none of that. And it absolutely was USMA 87, a totally clean hit. And that's anytime you see a big hit these days, that's the first thing you worry about is like, are they
Oh,
going
I
to call it a
know.
blindside hit? Are they going to say
Wouldn't have
targeting, all
surprised
these
me.
different things? He just shoulder to, like shoulder, helmet to ball and body. He just lit him up. And that dude wanted none of anybody on Notre Dame's defense the rest of the day.
I'm not sure they really wanted anything the whole game, but that definitely set the tone on that hit. I mean, that was
Career
awesome.
decisions. Career decisions.
Yeah,
That's right.
Exactly, 100%.
What would your nickname for Tae Johnson be? If Don Schuler is fire starter, what kind of nickname we giving Tae Johnson?
That's a great question. Let's see. If he's fire starter, should he be like Flint and Steel or something like that? Like to help start the fire?
The
Like
spark.
Spark or something. Like I feel like it should be something together that has something to do with starting a fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I watched, that like the remake of The Running Man came out in theaters.
Yes.
This
Was
weekend.
it good?
I haven't seen it
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
I watched before it came out, they've got the original Running Man with Arnold.
Oh.
And so I watched that and have you ever seen the original?
No, I have never seen the original. I didn't even know there was an original.
I think you should watch it came out when you were a young pup still, but I'm like they've got a lot of different, they call them stalkers in that, like guys who were hunting down. It's like a futuristic game show where like the Running Man was Arnold and he was, shot into the mean streets of LA. And then they have like different characters, kind of like pro wrestling, that go out stalking him and literally trying to kill him for a TV show of the future. But like Jim Brown was Fireball, Jesse Ventura was Captain Freedom. Like they had Dynamo and Buzzsaw and Sub-Zero. Buzzsaw, I think, is not a bad one for Tae Johnson when you think about some of the hits that he's made. Like the Igniter, not a character, but like it was like sparking some of the. I kind of like Buzzsaw. Like when you for
of
Johnson,
all the ones that you just said, Buzzsaw is the one. Yeah.
I think so. That. I think so. Make it a thing. Like it doesn't rhyme with Tae Johnson or anything. Just
Firestarter doesn't run with a Don Schuler, so it's all good.
That's right. So I don't know. We'll see. I doubt it sticks, but that's what I would go with anyway.
I think we just run with it. We'll start it. Start it here.
Realist Gorilla. Realist LG ND Killer. Okay, says duo should be fire and ice. I feel like there are too many fire and ices though.
Yeah, like lightning and thunder. Like
thunder and lightning, fire and ice,
that a lot.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mike says Sean is Richard Dawson. Who loves you and who do you love? That's right.
Right.
Giving the kisses.
Dawson. He got away with
Richard Dawson played the game show host in the original Running Man, and that was when he was like post-match game. And, when he was doing the Family Feud and he was, tonguing all the women on the Family Feud and they kind of spoofed the, like the kiss in the Running Man. It was good quality stuff.
I'll tell you what, man, I feel like he's almost being imprisoned for like some stuff he was doing on that show.
All right. We got to get into this break because we're way behind now at this point. So we'll take a break. When we come back, college football playoff talk. And we're going to start with that. And also some Jeremiyah Love disrespect potentially. We'll see what else we're able to get to before we wind this show down. Budweiser's weekday sports beat rapid fire with irishbreakdown.com. Just for the anti-breathers during the breaks, I moved the microphone for my last breath before we came back from break this time. So
that doesn't help me know that you're not back or that you're back. Come on.
well, you saw me move it. I did this.
No,
So,
well, I wasn't on this page. Come on, man.
like you started listening for my breath after DJ said that earlier.
Well, I listen for you to turn the mic on, and I do usually hear it, so it works out. It's all good. It's all good.
All right. All right. So we've got college football playoff selection number 3 coming out mañana, Tuesday. And we had something that Notre Dame didn't need this weekend. That was Oklahoma going on the road and beating Alabama. And the Sooners are ahead of Notre Dame at number 8. Alabama is behind the Irish at number 10 in both the AP and coaches polls this week. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how strongly do you feel that the College Football Playoff Committee is going to rank it that way, Vince?
Man, it's like a 5. I think that the overwhelming, majority of people think that both Alabama and Oklahoma should be above Notre Dame. And obviously that would drop Notre Dame to number 10. Before the AP poll came out, I was talking to a buddy on the phone and actually it was Brian. And we were, who else am I talking college football with? But we were talking about this, and I said, look, don't you think maybe Alabama should drop behind Notre Dame? Not far, like one spot, like behind Notre Dame, because I think their loss to Florida State still really stands out to me as kind of a bit of a deciding factor. Now, again, splitting hairs to a degree, but I think the AP poll got it right, and then the coaches poll did the exact same thing. I have no problem with Oklahoma jumping Notre Dame. That's fine. But with the way everything went, I think the AP poll got it right. I just don't know what the committee is going to do with it. That's the thing.
Yeah. And I agree with what you're saying. Like, to an extent, it's a similar situation to Notre Dame last year, that Notre Dame had the big win over Texas A&M, but they obviously followed that with a stinker. How can this ever happen loss to Northern Illinois, and that's obviously what everyone wanted to hold against them all year. I am surprised that we haven't heard more anti-Alabama stuff, with what about losing to Florida State? Now, granted, like when you and Jesse and I were texting about this, and I looked at their schedule and I looked at it wrong, I was thinking the biggest feather in their cap was Vanderbilt, but they obviously have the road win over Georgia as well, so that's massive. That's the thing that they have that Notre Dame doesn't. Even though Notre Dame doesn't have a bad loss and Alabama does, Alabama also still has one of the better, if not the best win in all of the country as of right now, with that road win over Georgia.
Sure. I don't disagree with that. And that's the thing. It's like, okay, so what does the committee value? The better win or the worse loss? And we're going to find out, because if they value the better win, they'll be ahead of Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. If they value the better loss, then they'll be behind Notre Dame. The AP poll valued the better loss. We'll see what the committee does. I'm not 100% sure. I personally think that the AP poll got it right. But again, I also have a skew towards Notre Dame. I'll admit it. I want to see them do as best as they possibly can. I think a lot will be shaken out as we move forward, and this is only the third rankings and all of those kinds of things, but I think Oklahoma at 8, Notre Dame at 9, Alabama at 10 is appropriate.
Say that again. Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Alabama.
Yeah.
I think it's appropriate, but my confidence that it's going to happen is probably along with where you are. You said 5, and that's about where I am as well, because if nothing else, now, as I said a couple of weeks ago, the AP and coaches polls after the first college football playoff poll comes out, because remember how, I won't say drastically different, but there were obviously some differences in how the AP and the coaches ranked things. And then the playoff committee poll came out for the first time. And as I said, the AP and the coaches poll will start to mirror what they saw in that CFP. I mean, they're basically copycatting. So
sure.
I think that has me even more concerned, just because these polls do tend to be at least subtly different. You know, like these people, like people in the media and the coaches obviously vote with whatever biases and, you know, their righteousness and their senses of right and wrong and everything else. And the fact that they do have Alabama behind Notre Dame kind of makes me concerned that the playoff committee is going to go, no, Notre Dame is going to be 10. Alabama's going to be 9. They're not going to fall that far because they fell 6 spots in the AP and the coaches poll, both with that loss. And again, they've got a better win than Notre Dame has on its resume right now. They have a worse loss, but they also have a better win.
It'll be interesting. I still think at worst Notre Dame is 10. And if that's the case, they're obviously still in, which is the most important thing. And at the end of the day, that's all I want for Notre Dame. You know, but when the final rankings come out, I just want them to be in, because at that point they can just take care of whatever business that they need to take care of. I just want them to be in. So I think worst case that they're 10. I'm hoping that they're 9. Like that's where I'm at.
But things also start to get dicey at this point. If Notre Dame does end up being number 10, like Facilitate, where was it? I think I already accidentally got rid of the start. Facilitate said he thinks that they will be at number 8. I think that is
I don't think they
very wishful thinking that they're going to move up this week. I think that Oklahoma is going to leapfrog past them because of the fact that like I've said all along that Kalen DeBoer's Alabama is not Nick Saban's Alabama, and I think that Kalen DeBoer's Alabama gets benefit of the doubt, kind of, you know,
absolutely,
like on the, you know, drafting off Nick Saban basically, and that whole reputation. They're still a really good football program. I'm not taking anything away. They obviously were on the bubble and just missed the playoff last year. They're still good. They lost, you know, to a good team, but at the same time, I feel like the human polls especially give Alabama much more benefit of the doubt. But like when I look at Oklahoma, Oklahoma's got a blowout loss to Texas. They've also lost to Ole Miss.
Yep.
One of those was a home game. And then they've got the win at Alabama. They've got a nice win over Michigan. But obviously, like, how much weight the committee decides to give this Alabama game is going to be the deciding factor, just because it might be the second or third best win of any team so far.
Well, and there's people out there that think, you know, Oregon is going to fall behind Notre Dame. That's not going to happen this week. Now, if they lose to USC, if they lose to USC, yes, I think Oregon falls behind Notre Dame. And then at that point, I feel really, really good about Notre Dame's chance of just getting into the tournament. You know what I mean? Like right now, being in that 10 spot, you're literally the last team in at that point, because right now there's no ACC or Group of 6 team in the top 12. So 11 and 12 get chopped out. Those 2 get put in, and, you know, 10 is the last spot in. So I feel
if you do fall back to 10, you have to start looking in your rearview mirror a little bit to Miami, because the reason, you know, like we talked about that a little bit, the reason that Notre Dame, like that loss to Miami, hasn't been held against them nearly as much is because the way the committee has looked at it. Remember when before the first playoff committee rankings came out, I read through that whole, here's how they do this. And they put these teams in tiers and like round after round of voting and all that stuff to put these teams into tiers. What they do, you know, so they're like tiers of like 6 teams, I think. You know, it's like 6 and then the next 6 and then the next 6 after that. Well, in the playoff committee's perception so far, the way they've evaluated these teams, Notre Dame has been ranked so far ahead of Miami that they're a tier ahead of Miami, basically. Well, if Miami keeps creeping up and Notre Dame falls back a spot, there's a chance that they could end up in the same tier. And so if that happens, then as the committee has said, then that head-to-head becomes more of a determining factor, because there is a head-to-head with 2 teams in the same tier now, and that could really ultimately end up costing the Irish. So what happens tomorrow is going to be pretty important. Like if they can at least hang there at number 9. I don't think that they're going to move up to number 8, but I'm also not overly optimistic that both Oklahoma and Alabama aren't going to be ahead of Notre Dame when the rankings come out.
Yeah.
But if they are, it'll be like, or if Notre Dame is ahead of either or both of them, it'll be like, okay, here's the next fan base to hate Notre Dame. Like we're going to see a whole different chorus.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
from fan base it happens to be, because it's happened every week so far. All right, we're going to take one more break. Last break this hour. I promise it's a short one, literally about 2.5 minutes, and then we'll come back and hit a couple more things, including a comment from Jeremiyah Love on Pittsburgh disrespect. That's next. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat, Rapid Fire, IrishBreakdown.com. Winding down Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com with Vince D'Addario. I'm Sean Stires. We've actually got a little more time than I thought we did here, but I've blown a lot of stuff out because we went behind in the first hour, and then we went long with the first segment of this hour. I thought we've had some good talks tonight. Vince,
Yeah.
talk. Like, go ahead and get a cold one.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Can I go now?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Facilitate wants to know why Notre Dame would not jump Oregon based on what the Irish just did with the lopsided win over Pittsburgh. He says, I don't know. It just seems logical.
Because Oregon only has one loss right now. They're in the overrated Big Ten, and until they get a second loss, they're not going to go anywhere. And they just had a lopsided win against Minnesota. And I realize it was a home game. I understand that, but they're not going to drop Oregon behind Notre Dame after they won.
Yeah, they're not going to drop any of those one-loss teams behind any of the two-loss teams as long as they keep winning. Like, that's just like, like you say, it sounds logical. It sounds logical from a Notre Dame fan, obviously. Like, you want them to be ahead of it. I get it. Pitt was a ranked team, but they're not going to drop any of those one-loss teams behind Notre Dame. Like,
Not a chance.
Notre Dame is fortunate when you look at the rankings that Oregon is at number 6, because what that means is if Oregon does lose one of these last two games against USC, who obviously Notre Dame has the head-to-head with, and or Washington, which are both rivalry game, not USC's not rivalry, but like at least they have the connections, back to the Pac-12 and all that kind of stuff. But the Washington game, there's some rivalry there, but they lose either one of those games and Notre Dame keeps winning. Notre Dame will be ahead of Oregon.
Right.
I think most of the other 2 lost teams will be. I think that will drop them back. Notre Dame will have probably the strongest case because of the fact that they have the head-to-head over USC.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yes, everyone out there needs to be a USC fan this week because you're going to have to root for them to beat Oregon. If they beat Oregon, Oregon falls behind Notre Dame. End of discussion. And if that happens, Notre Dame's pretty much a lock to get in at that point. So, yeah, go Trojans. Dun, 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 dun. That's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you can do is pull for USC.
Right.
At this point, pull for USC and hope that somebody knocks off Miami and, kind of sends that, weight floundering, whether or not that's going to happen.
I would love for Notre Dame to have a home game in the first round. I just think that is becoming increasingly less likely.
Mm-hmm.
And if Notre Dame's on the road, they're on the road. Like, that doesn't bother me. Notre Dame's a good road team.
At this point, you've got 2 losses, make the playoff, and
Yeah.
you've got as good a chance
Just get in.
That's all you can
get in, because
regardless.
if you go on, you're going to go on the road against somebody that's very beatable because they're 5, 6, 7, or 8, right? So you're going against somebody that's beatable, and at that point, then you're neutral sites the rest of the way. So it's fine. Just get in.
I agree. I want to look at something here real quick. Yeah, that's what I I think Stymie took a nap this weekend. He says NC State could smack Miami this weekend. Who knows? The unfortunate part about that, Stymie, is Miami smacked Notre Dame or NC State this past weekend, 41-7. So that's not going to happen. All that's left for Miami is at Virginia Tech and at Pittsburgh. So you really need to become a Nardo fan.
Virginia Tech, they just got themselves a new coach, so maybe that'll fire them up to go make some noise in that game. You never know.
Yeah.
Stranger things have happened.
All right. Notre Dame men's basketball lost by a point at Ohio State yesterday, a day after the Irish women lost by 39 Michigan. In Detroit, Vince, would you rather stomach the 1-point loss or the blowout loss?
Oh, man. Well, I mean, that's tough because Notre Dame had control of that entire Ohio State game and then lost at the end. And that was a tough way to go out. I have a feeling, although I did not watch the women's game, that situation was no longer in doubt for quite a while. And there is a time where you're just like, okay, we didn't get this one. Let's just get through this game and get the heck out of here.
Yeah.
I would actually rather be blown out. I really would, because from a mental standpoint, when that final buzzer blows, man, I've already turned the page to the next game. It's time to move on. Let's get back on the bus and come back. When you have control of the entire game and you lose by a point, man, that guts you for a little while.
It is, but this is November, so I realize no coach is just going to cash it in regardless of what kind of loss you're, on whatever end of. Just because you win by, or lose by 1 point doesn't mean, hey, we've turned a corner. We're close, and it's going to happen for us. And just the same as, okay, you lose by 39. That doesn't mean it's the end of the world, and you can't be a different team. By the time March rolls around. But at the same time, I think that at least Micah Shrewsbury, as much as it just like kicks you in the midsection when you lose a 1-point game like that, and you can move past a blowout loss quicker. I think in year 3, where Shrewsbury is, like, it's easier to build on that for the short term, like where there's obviously more questions that have to be answered if you're on the women's side and you lose by 39 points. Like, was I 100% certain they were going to win that game? No. Was I pretty certain that it should at least be a fairly competitive game, for Notre Dame against Michigan? Yeah. And that's what was the most disconcerting, but the other side of this is Michigan had a ton of experience from an NCAA tournament team coming back. They had a 6'3" transfer, Patriot League Player of the Year from Bucknell. What stood out to me was the size factor. Like it was decided. It was definite. And, Michigan's size, they out-rebounded Notre Dame 50-28. And like the size thing was always going to be the biggest concern. And Notre Dame just didn't shoot well. They shot 28% overall. They hit 2 of 22 3-pointers. And that was just as big a factor as the size, as they just didn't shoot well. So like there's some things to figure out. They've got a few days, and then they've got USC, another NCAA tournament team, coming in on Friday. So not going to get any easier for the short term. I was talking with the Michigan radio guy after the game, the other day, and he said, I think you guys are going to look a lot different in March than what you look right now. And I said, I think that's still a possibility, but it doesn't make, this any easier to stomach. So again, between the two, I think right now I'd rather live with the 1 point than the 39 point.
It's fair. And you had to call the 39-point loss, so that's tough too.
Yeah.
Those games are so hard to call.
Oh, man.
I mean, especially if you don't have, I'm guessing Big Game Carol wasn't there. So
Karen,
excuse me. So that makes it really.
It was solo, baby. It was solo.
Yeah, that's tough, man.
But the network has filled me up with plenty of live reads this year, which is good for the bottom line. But it's like I feel like every time I turn around, I'm working in another live read to these things. So that at least helped fill a little bit of extra time. It's rough, man. There's nothing worse than a blowout. Even blowouts in your favor are not the easiest.
Oh, absolutely. And when you and I used to do football games together at the high school level, and we would be involved in numerous blowouts where we were praying for the the running clock, because there's only so much you can talk about.
That's right. And you don't get running clocks.
No, you don't.
Basketball.
No.
All right, that's going to do it for tonight. We have plumb run out of time. We'll have plenty of stuff to talk about on tomorrow's show, though. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. See you, Vince.
See you.